Good day, it's Tony Fortunato from the technology firm. The folks at the SC Congress allowed me to post my presentation that I did for them called Underground Networks. So it's me, Tony Fortunato from the tech firm. Hope you enjoy. This slide is just a bit about me, Tony Fortunato. I've been teaching Wireshark classes since 2000 and with Wireshark University since its inception, 2007. Started my career designing, implementing, and troubleshooting financial networks in '89, such as trading floors, banks, and so on. I use commercial and open source tools for troubleshooting and customer knowledge transfer. We also call that mentoring services. Provide on-site consulting, customized training, mentoring, design, troubleshooting, and training services. I'm a certified Fluke Network instructor and consultant, and I'm a certified Wireshark University instructor. The good news is I do not sell or resell any of the products I use or mention on my website. This slide is illustrating perception versus reality, and the perception most people like to have is that their security and IT policies result in an airtight, secure environment. Us realists in the field know that's literally impossible, and we end up with more of a realistic view of our network like this, and we know that no system is bulletproof. The effectiveness of any system relies on knowing, that's a big one, and monitoring where your holes or possible exposures lie. In other words, you have to be realistic that something could happen. You have to know what that could is, and then you have to know how you would monitor against that. From a network perspective, I've broken this slide out into a few categories, and this is the levels of network security issues. So we've got our clients, and the users intentionally or unintentionally create network or security exposures. And I'm going to concentrate more on the unintentional side of things, where people just don't know that they're doing this and they're just trying to get their work done. The next one is the IT department, and the IT staff installs a temporary network. That's always funny because temporary really means permanent. And that'll cause some sort of temporary exposure if the network truly is temporary and gets shut down at some point. But typically these temporary networks don't conform to any security practices or policies because they're just whipped up on the fly. And both of these scenarios are not malicious or intentional. It's people leveraging whatever technology is available to get their job done. This slide is fairly universal. It's relevant if it's networking or security. It's education. There is no substitute for educating your clients. A corporate policy document or general information should be available to inform users about security and general internet safety. When people understand the existing policies in place, they are more apt to comply, and some of them actually educate their coworkers for you and spread the word. So the security basically needs to be a part of the corporate culture. Little green check mark here is saying policies should be concise and specific, detailing what users can and can't do. And many times I find examples help drive the point home. So make sure people understand going to bad websites, opening unsolicited emails, but then if they were to create a Wi-Fi hotspot, specifically state that those types of things are not approved, and that that goes against corporate policy. Client and remote network access. Many corporations have remote access solutions for their staff. Technology today has made it easier for users to circumvent security policies. Again, this is an unintentional exercise. TeamViewer, GoToMyPC, VNC, LogMeIn, those are all websites and services that provide users remote access to their work computers and in turn your corporate network. Neat little tool out there called Hamachi takes it a step further and creates a VPN network connection between the computer, which can act as a gateway, to the corporate network directly. So that means at home, somebody could hit the print button on their home computer and print to a printer on their floor. And this is their private VPN network, not the corporate network. So we have to ensure that users either cannot access these sites, we block these specific port numbers when we can, or we limit what clients can install on their computer to avoid this altogether. Now the topic of cellular sticks. These USB or Bluetooth adapters connect your device directly to the internet. This could be a laptop or a desktop. This is another complicated situation since the computer might actually be the property of the corporation, but the stick might actually be the employees. Secondly, the computer might access internet sites that are not approved while physically connected to the corporate network. So for example, I've got an Ethernet connection on my PC into the corporate network, and now I've got a cellular stick in my laptop going off to my carrier, allowing me to go to any site that I might not normally be able to go to. So again, PC configuration changes need to be used. That way we control what people can install or where they can go. This is a classic scenario, a physical rogue access point. So the scenario is quite simple. A client wants to have wireless coverage in a meeting room or to use their personal tablet at work, and tablets don't typically have Ethernet wired connections on them. So they simply connect an access point to their network connection at their desk and off they go. Unfortunately, if you do not have an official wireless deployment or network, you are more susceptible to these scenarios going unnoticed because you are not monitoring for rogue access points because you don't have a wireless network. Ways to deal with this: switch port security, 8021X, some Wi-Fi scanners, NetStumbler, Insider. If you do have a wireless environment, you might want to consider an enterprise solution such as Fluke Networks Air Magnet, Airwave, or any Wi-Fi IDS can help identify these types of scenarios. So here's an example of some non-obvious physical rogue or just access points. This little guy, it's a D-Link, but all vendors sell them. These are called travel routers, and they fit right in the palm of your hand. This one is literally the size of my business card. They're USB powered. They're extremely small, and from a distance, this can just simply look like a USB hard drive, and it's easily mistaken for one. You just walk right by it. So you should be familiar with these types of devices. So if you do physically see them, it'll ring a little bell in your head or set off some flag. So here's the same problem with a twist. Not a physical rogue access point as I just showed you. This is a software rogue access point. So there are applications out there that users can install on their computer, their laptops, to share their network connection. Either their stick, or they can share their Wi-Fi, or they can share their physical wired connection. And this is becoming more common for tablet and smartphone users who want to use their tablets of work. And that way, they don't have their data on their tablets and smartphones going through their cellular connection and counting against their data usage. Examples of this: Connectify is a free piece of software that does this for you. Intel has a little utility called MiFi, and those software applications sitting on a laptop basically turns that laptop into an access point. So again, proper software installation protocols must be in place that will prevent or limit what applications can be installed on your laptops to avoid this type of problem. The other problem with these software rogue access points is it also provides a whole bunch of extra features such as drag and drop file transfers. And what those do is, again, that bypasses any corporate policies or securities you have in place that might prevent people from copying stuff back and forth. The other complicated issue with this is some of these come with their own firewall controls or firewalls, which may conflict or prevent people from accessing legitimate stuff in your network, such as a server or a web server, a printer, and that kind of thing. So these could cause quite a bit of problems. Another good example is a smartphone hotspot, where today's cell phones can be configured as a hotspot. And this could be an Android phone, this could be a good old iPhone, and other Wi-Fi devices now can basically use that smartphone like a big old wireless modem. Again, now you go to the internet and you use that phone as your modem, and you literally bypass your corporate internet policies because now it can go anywhere I want. Again, this creates a new challenge since a laptop connected to the corporate wired network might have a Wi-Fi connection to this smartphone, allowing it to go to the internet anywhere it wants. Another way to deal with this, obviously we can still monitor for rogue access points, since this is a type of access point, and limiting which Wi-Fi network users can connect to would also help. This screen is, again, fairly straightforward. We've got the Android settings on the left side as an example of how you can configure it to be a portable Wi-Fi hotspot. And then on the right, we got a good old Apple. And again, we can have that set up as a hotspot as well. Bring your own device, or BYOD. With the proliferation of tablets, e-book readers, smartphones, netbooks, laptops, all this wonderful stuff, more companies are being asked to allow employees to bring their own personal devices into the office. I suggest you treat the situation the same way you would treat an employee bringing a guest in. You also have to think of various scenarios. For example, what happens if someone claims they got a virus while on your BYOD network? You should make sure you have some sort of policy or disclaimer or document that tells people BYOD is the great wild, wild west and it's not monitored and you're on your own type of thing. For example, would you allow an employee's guest to connect to the corporate network with their laptop? Probably not. You wouldn't allow an employee's guest to use a corporate phone and make long distance calls either. So you should treat this in that same manner. I would suggest you create a separate Wi-Fi or wired guest networks if that's what you want. Be careful of laptops that are wired to your corporate network and now via Wi-Fi connect to the BYOD network, which again could circumvent some of your policies and internet security practices. Accessing non-corporate Wi-Fi. Employees might access the nearby non-corporate Wi-Fi networks, and that's quite an issue, as you'll see in a second. The big concern is since the computer is probably wired to the corporate network while simultaneously accessing the internet or uncontrolled internet or untrusted internet via the Wi-Fi. So in this case, we just need PC policies or products like wireless auto switcher or bridge checker. There's tons of them out there. What they do is they disable your wireless connection when a hardwired connection is active. And that's an easy, simple way of preventing that. So here's an example of what I just talked about. You've got a laptop here. It's wired to the corporate network. And then via Wi-Fi, it's connected to the coffee shop or the McDonald's or the whatever. So now they can go via Wi-Fi, go wherever they want, but they are still connected via wired to the corporate network. Good old tethering. Tethering is much like we talked about with the hotspot. So smartphones allow tethering where you use the phone as a modem to access the network. The internet. This one is challenging since the phone might be the employee's phone, but the computer might be the corporation's. So PC configuration changes and promoting corporate policies falls back into that bucket. And this needs a physical cable. So tethering is typically used with a USB cable, whereas the hotspot is the same thing but via wireless. Virtual machines. A virtual machine application such as VBox, VMware, Virtual PC. These could be used to create virtual PCs that don't conform to your current PC security or configuration policies. Current software installation policies can be used to block unauthorized applications such as these. These are basically apps. Live CD and live USBs. This is kind of like the virtual machine idea, but instead of running as an application, you basically boot your machine with either a CD or USB in it. So let's go through the slide. A live CD or USB is a complete bootable computer operating system which runs in memory. So when you boot from a live CD or USB, the computer is not bound by any of the current login mechanisms that you might have in place. Configuring computers to only boot from the hard drive and password protecting your BIOS would prevent this. Because if I had a live CD, I could boot up my laptop on the corporate network and basically do whatever I want and go wherever I want and bypass any of the security policies you might have in place. Power line, my secret weapon. This technology allows you to send an Ethernet signal through your power or wiring. So this is not power over Ethernet. This is kind of the opposite, if you will, Ethernet over your power lines. So this is used when temporary networks are created and no wired connections are available and wireless is not an option. Power line networks should be treated the same as a wireless network and configured with the same parameters, authentication, encryption, and all that good stuff. Again, I've used this many times where we need a quick fix or a temporary connection somewhere. Using anonymous or anon proxies. So these are online or browser add-ons and could possibly be separate applications that clients use to visit websites which may be blocked by your corporate policy or system. Examples of these sites or applications: good old Zen2, Hotspot Shield, Proxify. These online sites should be added to your blocked sites. Current software management practices can also prevent some of these things from happening. So basically you go to these anonymous proxy sites or you run some proxy software, and if they can get to the proxy site, then they could go to any site because it goes there on their behalf. So something to look out for. Name resolution services. So these services provide name resolution so people can access their home network when they don't have a statically assigned IP address by their internet providers. Example of these sites or applications: TZO, Dynamic DNS, no IP. There's a ton of them out there. And again, you can block these sites, and that way people can't use those sites for name resolution and get back to unauthorized places such as their home computer. Aha! Special projects or temporary networks. I sarcastically comment, temporary networks result in two things. They eventually become permanent, or worse, forgotten networks. They may be installed without the same measures and policies as the rest of the organization based on the fact that they are temporary. Temporary or project networks should have a definite expiry or decommission date. If a project network requires internet access different from the corporate users or access by external staff, it should be set up as a separate network altogether. This slide is a tough topic: vigilance. IT staff must constantly be testing new products and applications to ensure that the low-hanging fruit of technology isn't deployed by unauthorized staff. For example, when a new remote application is available, staff should ensure their current network isn't vulnerable. Time must be dedicated to inform users what they can and can't do. For example, make it clear that remote access to your computer is forbidden. Another good example: BitTorrents are forbidden. Correspondence to employees identifying current security issues should be in place. For example, current viruses that are going around, malware, phishing scams, all those kind of things that happen on a daily basis. Maybe as part of their login, they have that good old disclaimer screen that comes up when you log in. Maybe a weekly or monthly email or newsletter just saying, hey, look out for this, don't click on that, and that sort of thing. And that's it, folks. So hope that helped you out. Hope that informed, entertained, and have a good day. Bye for now.